Hello everyone. The name of this story is Copy Hero, Marvel Universe. Chapter 1, Transmigrating into Marvel. Avenger Base, New York. Bruce sat in the hall with a bitter expression on his face. 3 months ago, he traveled through time and space and arrived in the Marvel Universe. Before his rebirth, he entered the cinema full of excitement, ready to watch the premiere of Avengers: Endgame. But when the movie had just begun, there was a great explosion, in which he was killed. When he woke up, he found himself in the Marvel Universe. Not long ago, Tony Stark revealed his identity as Iron Man in an interview. Recently, the news that drew most people's attention was the big explosion in New Mexico. The army blockaded the site as soon as it happened. These events confirmed to Bruce that he had come to the Marvel Universe. Although there were some minor changes, the timeline was basically the same as it was in the Marvel series he had seen. If his guess was right, then soon Thor would be coming to Earth. And Bruce knew this because he was currently an agent in the Avengers base. Before the Avengers were formed, the Avengers' base had secretly been set up under the leadership of S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury. This was the first difference of this world from the Marvel movie series. His body's original host was called Bruce Lite, a 22-year-old level 3 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He belonged to the lowest level of agents and his usual job was to patrol and ensure the security of S.H.I.E.L.D. There were 10 levels of agents, with the 10th level being the strongest and the first being the weakest. When the Avengers base was established, Bruce was lucky enough to be transferred here. Originally, Bruce would have been very happy with his identity. After all, he had some privileges as an agent, such as not being subject to certain US laws. But now he was in the Marvel Universe. Compared to all kinds of superheroes and villains, he was just a nobody. According to the timeline of the Marvel movie series, the series of Captain America would begin after Thor arrived. Therefore, in the near future, the Earth would be facing the first New York War that Loki would begin by attacking the Earth with the Chitauri. At that time, Bruce would be nothing but cannon fodder. Of course, as a person who remembered all the plots, he had many ways to escape the First New York War. But, could he evade the Second Sokovia War and then the Wakanda War as well? Even if Bruce was confident enough that he could survive through all of these wars, there was Thanos next. There was a 50% chance of turning into cosmos dust, and Bruce would not bet his luck on that. The only way to survive in this world was to make himself stronger. Strong enough that even the energy of infinite gems cannot affect him. But he was just a level 3 agent, which meant that he was only a little stronger than the average human. How could he become stronger? He was just a lonely man, a worthless life. Thinking of this, Bruce clenched his fist. In the Marvel world, strength was everything. However, strength was the exact thing he lacked. Even worse, his poor communication skills and reluctance to start conversations have caused him to be isolated from the crowd. Bruce took a deep breath and calmed down. The most important thing now was to find a way to survive in the First New York War. "Hey, Bruce, why did you space out? What are you thinking?" At this time, Bruce heard a familiar voice. He looked up. It was his partner Bill, an African-American level 4 agent. He was also one of the few friends that Bruce had. Bill had been very caring towards Bruce, especially after Bruce came to the Avengers base. They had a very sincere relationship in which they took care of each other. When he saw Bill, Bruce smiled. "Bill, nothing, I'm only thinking about some nonsense." While he was talking to Bill, he felt a sudden dizziness. His face turned pale and his forehead was full of sweat. Beep, the unlimited download system has been successfully activated. An emotionless voice appeared in Bruce's mind. When Bruce pulled himself together again, he heard Bill. "Bruce, what's wrong with you? Are you really okay?" Bill quickly stood next to Bruce, supporting his body with his shoulder. Just as Bruce tried to talk, a message suddenly appeared in his mind. Name, Mike Bill. Identity, 4th level agent. Skill, medium level fighting technique, 100 MB, proficient in firearms, 200 MB, excellent in rapping, 10 MB. Bruce was shocked when he found this piece of information floating in his brain. But soon, he realized exactly what happened and was filled with ecstasy. He had just obtained a system called the Unlimited Download System. And the function of this system was to download all kinds of skills from other people without any restrictions. Chapter 2: This System Charges Money. It had been 3 months since Bruce's arrival in the Marvel Universe, and he had given up hope on the system since it hadn't appeared even once after the first time. While he was desperate, the system suddenly appeared. He opened the system without hesitation. Name: Bruce. Identity: third-level agent. Skill: primary fighting techniques, proficiency in firearms. Balance: 0. His attributes were still very low. What is balance? Though he was puzzled, Bruce was still excited about the fact that he owned the unlimited download system. However, his friend Bill knew nothing of Bruce's sudden change of emotion. "My God, Bruce, you have been so moody lately. Are you all right?" Bruce stood up, patted Bill on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, my friend, I'm okay." Not surprisingly, when he touched Bill, Bill's information appeared in his mind again. There was a download button under each ability. Bill was a level 4 agent who had obtained a medium-level fighting technique. As for his proficiency in firearms, Bruce had that too, so there was no need to download it. As for the last one, excellent at rapping. Bruce skipped it directly. Next, Bruce clicked the download button under medium-level fighting technique. Beep. Successfully connected. You have met the prerequisite primary level fighting technique. The size of the medium-level fighting technique package is reduced to 50 MB. Beep. Current download speed is 100 KB per second, valid within 1 meter. Wait, the speed was only 100 KB per second? Bruce was stunned. If he wanted to completely download medium-level fighting techniques, it would take at least 8 or 9 minutes. For now, 9 minutes was acceptable. But if it needed a few hours or days, this was not going to work out. It was impossible to stay with a person for that long. Also, the limitation of the valid distance was a problem. It was ordinary to stay within 1 meter of his partner. But what about others? That would certainly cause doubts. Just as he was worried about these potential problems, he found out that there was a speed up button in the download list. Bruce clicked it without hesitation. Next, a list appeared. For $1,000, receive a 2x download speed. For $10,000, receive a 10x download speed. For $100,000, receive a 100x download speed. For $1 million, receive a 1000x download speed. For $10 million, receive a 10,000x download speed. His jaw dropped while looking at the list. What? The system needs money? After working for S.H.I.E.L.D. for several years, Bruce was able to save up about $100,000. Before the appearance of the system, Bruce was going to use that money to buy a nice house in the suburbs. But now. Afterwards, Bruce directly put in $1,000 into the system. But he did not use that money to speed up the download of Bill's skill. It would be a huge waste to spend $1,000 just to save 4 to 5 minutes. Bill still seemed very worried even though Bruce kept telling him that he was good. After making sure that Bruce was perfectly healthy, Bill lowered his voice and looked directly into Bruce's eyes. "Buddy, you need to be careful. If our new supervisor sees you being unreliable, it might cost you your job." Bruce felt a wave of warmth in his chest. "Don't worry, I've got it handled." Bill smiled and gave him a hug. While Bill was going back to work, Bruce was alarmed. If the distance between them exceeded 1 meter, the connection would cut off and he would not be able to continue downloading. Therefore, Bruce followed Bill and started to chat with him. Thanks to Bill's talkativeness, it was not hard for Bruce to stick with him until he heard the system's notice. Beep. Download complete. Congratulations on getting the skill, medium-level fighting technique. He could feel that his physical strength and fighting strategies inside his mind had been greatly improved. Suppressing his excitement about these changes, he said goodbye to Bill and went back to work. Although this was the headquarters of the Avengers base, the construction had just been finished. The Avengers had not been formally established yet, so there were not many people in the base. Only a few agents patrolled around. Bruce eventually encountered some third-level agents, same as himself, but they did not have any attractive abilities that were worth downloading. Bruce returned to his dormitory after his day shift. The low-level agents who worked here were required to live in the dormitory within the base, and were not allowed to leave without a specific reason. Fortunately, each agent lived in a separate room with absolute privacy. Now, Bruce was sitting on his bed with his back against the wall and his hands behind his head. Today he had taken his first step to become stronger by seizing the opportunity given by the system. But the system only provided opportunity. If he truly wanted to be stronger, he needed to establish connections with more powerful people. Especially the senior agents in the base. As for those superheroes, Bruce did not even dare to think about it. They were so powerful that even the strongest agent was nothing compared to them. Such skills would definitely occupy an enormous amount of space. Even if Bruce could make contact with them, it would be impossible to download those skills. Therefore, Bruce now had two goals. The first one was to improve his skills in a limited time, so that he could survive through the First New York War. And the second was to make as much money as possible in order to get an upgrade to his downloading speed. These two goals were the cornerstone of his pathway to the top of the world. Once that was determined, Bruce went to his bed. There was still a lot of work to do tomorrow. He had to restore his energy. The next day, Bruce put on his uniform and equipment, and walked out from his dormitory, like always. Just as Bruce greeted Bill at the gate of the Avengers base, a black Jeep stopped in front of the gate. Attention! All the agents assembled in lines and looked straight ahead immediately. Then, a tall man walked out of the car. He was a level 5 agent. Chapter 3, Covert Tracking. In the Avenger base, every level 5 agent led the lower agents. Before Bruce stood a typical Caucasian male, 1.9 meters tall, wearing black sunglasses. He was the level 5 agent, Ed Frank, the superior of Bruce and Co. Frank walked out from the Jeep, and glanced around at the level 3 and 4 agents before walking into the base and issuing them a direct order. "Everyone follow me, meeting in 10 minutes. He left as soon as he spoke, while the agents looked at each other trying to guess what had happened. It took almost a year to build the Avengers base. Although it was bustling, it had never been this formal. What happened? Why is Mr. Frank so serious? It seems that something has happened. Word is, Mr. Phil Coulson is expected to come to the base to do an inspection. God! Phil Coulson. He is a level 8 agent. Coulson's name sent shocks through all the level 3 and 4 agents. However, Bruce thought that although Coulson was a level 8 agent, he was in fact the right-hand man of the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He reckoned he'd be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after Nick Fury. Needless to say, to Bruce, he was a big shot. Bruce thought to himself, it seems the timeline of the Marvel universe I live in is similar to the Marvel movies, but with some slight changes. Soon after, the level 3 and level 4 agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. neatly lined up in anticipation. Ed Frank stood at the forefront of the team and scanned the assembly. I believe you all know Mr. Phil Coulson will visit here after 3 days. Keep your spirits up, and don't embarrass me. Yes, sir. The agents answered in unison. Any level 5 agent was better than the ones below their level. Bruce looked at Frank and narrowed his eyes. I must think of a way to improve my strength. Ed Frank's orders interrupted the usual work schedule. Everyone had his duties. Bruce, as a level 3 agent, was assigned to guard the gate. The job was a breeze, anyone would be delighted to have it. However, as an agent, killing or getting killed was part of their job. To entrust one's life to the goddess of fortune, any mishap meant death. In the eyes of agents, the simpler your work, the weaker you were. This weakness was reason enough to be mocked. Bruce was no babe in the woods and certainly understood this truth. He didn't care though, for no one knew better than him the extent of his abilities. Okay, get back to work. Frank dismissed the crowd. With that, everyone went back to work. Bruce hesitated for a while before walking up to Frank. "Sir, my name is Bruce Lite. Please guide me in the future." A few of the agents who knew Bruce were taken aback. They couldn't help but wonder as to why the usually silent Bruce would suddenly behave like so. Didn't they say Bruce likes brown-nosing? It turns out to be true. Asking Frank to guide or support him. This is a real joke. With unveiled contempt, several agents whispered amongst themselves. Upon hearing them, although he was somewhat unhappy, Bill chose to remain silent. Frank responded with a nod. He even shook Bruce's hand when the latter extended his. However, there was a trace of doubt on his face. Name: Ed Frank. Identity: Level 5 Agent. Skill: High-level fighting technique, 130 MB, proficient in firearms, 200 MB, covert tracking, 100 MB. Bruce was happy to see Frank's skills. The most important skills of an agent were investigation and assassination. It showed how important covert tracking was to him. Next, without hesitation, Bruce chose to directly download. Beep. Connection successful. Beep. Skill: Covert tracking, size 100 MB. Downloading. Beep. Current speed: 200 kb per second, effective within 1 meter. The speed became 200 kb per second. Apparently, downloading speed was closely related to his strength. Even so, the download needed nearly 7 or 8 minutes to complete. Ed Frank was no Bill whom Bruce could delay. Next, Bruce spent $10,000 to unlock 10 times the downloading speed directly. After the speed-up, the needed time was reduced to under a minute. "Sir, you can rest assured. I will work hard." Bruce tried to buy some time. Frank nodded, looked around and put down his hand. "If there's nothing else, get back to work." After saying that, Frank turned to leave. Beep. Download complete. Beep. Congratulations. New skill: Covert tracking. In less than a minute, the download was completed. Bruce did feel the pinch of losing $10,000, but thinking of the newly acquired skill, the smile was back on his face again. After all, strengthening himself was the most important thing. After Frank left, Bruce went back to work. Those men who had just mocked him left as well. Bruce didn't care a whit about them. Next, he opened the system panel. Name: Bruce. Identity: Level 3 Agent. Skill: Medium-level fighting technique, proficient in firearms, covert tracking. Balance: $90,000. Sure enough, this was a new panel. This meant that his power had increased. Chapter 4: Great Increase in Strength. Seeing this, Bruce was secretly happy. If he kept performing like this, the top brass of S.H.I.E.L.D. would soon notice him. As for his ability covert tracking, it could largely improve his speed and sensibility. But the most significant function of this ability was in assassinations. The promotion test of agents will start after 5 days. If I become a level 5 agent, I will be allowed to go out of the base. At present, he was just a level 3 agent. His first goal was to become a level 5. The level 5 agents had some prerogatives, of which the most important one was to leave the Avengers base freely. Now, his money was not enough for a speed-up. If he met some superhero, he would miss, so he had to find a way to make a crazy amount of money. Unlimited download system: you can download any skill from the person you're touching. According to his research, you can download any ability on the system. If he met Tony Stark in the future, even Tony's armor would be available for download since the system would classify Tony's armor as a skill. However, the data needed for such a skill would be so massive that even 10 times the download speed would not be enough unless he could make the download speed up to 1,000 times the current rate. Then there would be another Iron Man in this world. As for how to make money, Bruce had a rough plan. Within S.H.I.E.L.D., there was a department responsible for issuing reward orders. S.H.I.E.L.D. would handle those outlaws with whom the police or even the military could not deal with by offering a reward to neutralize those beasts. For one thing, they could handle those outlaws. And as an extra benefit, they could also find some hidden superpowers in the process. In other words, it was killing two birds with one stone. While Bruce was plotting on his own, Bill came to him and said, "Hey Bruce, don't take their words personally. They are just that kind of person." There were also conflicts among agents since each of them did things their own way. Bill and Bruce were from the same group. As for people like Duke, they were from another group. People like them were usually very proud, looking down on people like Bill and Bruce. Of course, another reason was that Bruce was usually wordless and had poor communication skills. Hearing that, Bruce smiled, "Don't worry, my friend. I didn't care about that at all. Maybe you would have felt distressed before. But now," he wanted to laugh out loud. The New York War and Thanos's fingers snap treated everyone equally. They would not care who you were. In fact, Bruce appreciated the ideals of Thanos. But Thanos was destined to become his enemy. Against the enemy, he would never be soft. With that said, Duke was also his enemy. "Okay. Phil Coulson will come here for inspection in 3 days. You have to be careful, friend," Bill kindly reminded. Bruce noted. After all, his job was to defend the security gate. Everyone had to walk through there if they wanted to enter the base. Even superheroes were no exception. Next, Bruce talked with Bill for a while, then they separated. The work of low-level agents was very dull, but it served as training as well. A few hours passed, and no one had crossed the security check. Not to mention the security check, no one even passed within a 100 meters. In the evening, Bruce's shift ended. After his shift, he didn't go directly to his dormitory. Instead, he went to try out his new skill. The Avengers base was guarded so well that not even a fly would be able to sneak into it. Even Ant-Man was discovered while trying to sneak into the base. So surely, the Avengers base would be the best place for him to try out his new ability. In the dark, Bruce turned into a shadow and traveled through all the corners of the base. He didn't go to the heavily defended locations because his ability was still not good enough. As an insider, he certainly knew which place was safe. After continuously sneaking for 4 to 5 hours, no one had found him. Even when he was only 5 meters away from an agent, he wasn't exposed. Soon after, he went back to his dormitory. The whole time he didn't trigger any alarms or caused any accidents, which was proof enough of the ability of covert tracking. Tonight he infiltrated the Avengers base. If he went outside someday in the future, no place could stop him. Soon he returned to his room. There was special training equipment in the room, and Bruce went on to test his skills. Now that he had the medium-level fighting technique, his strength had significantly improved to 3 times more than before. Along with his fighting skills, Bruce could even beat a level 5 agent now. "I will ace the agent assessment in 5 days." Although he was still a level 3 agent now, as long as he had the strength of a level 5 agent, he could become one without a problem. Next, Bruce no longer tested his strength. 3 days later, Coulson will visit the Avengers base. I wonder what will happen then. As a top agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson had a lot of responsibilities. He would never come here for no reason. Surely, something must have happened. What is it? Bruce's eyes shrank slightly. He thought of a possible reason. Perhaps Thor's hammer had been thrown out by Odin. But he couldn't be sure of it. After all, this world was not exactly the same as the movie. Chapter 5, Phil Coulson. The most important thing now was to improve his strength. In the next few days, Bruce went about as usual. As for Duke and company, they despised him even more than before. In their eyes, Bruce was the fawning type. Which they thought was needless. Because in S.H.I.E.L.D., everything depended on your strength. Without strength, you could only stay at the bottom. Bruce did not care about the gossip of those people. Fighting was a punishable offense in the base. So Duke and they could do nothing but gossip. At the time that Bruce was on duty, there were 5 or 6 agents that stood not far from him. They looked in his direction from time to time. "How did an idiot like this get into S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first place?" said a tall white man. It was Duke. He had a high prestige among the Level 3 and Level 4 agents. He was now a 4th-level agent. If he performed well, he might even be promoted to a 5th-level agent. He believed that his bloodline and race were inherently noble. So he always looked down on others, especially Bruce. "Duke, the agent test will start in 2 days. You could knock him out or kill him directly when the time comes," another agent said. Agent assessments could also be called a type of contest. Except for the basic tests, the low-level agents were allowed to challenge others to a life-or-death fight. And there were deaths during the challenges quite a few times before. This kind of event was very common among the circle of agents, and the top brass also turned a blind eye to this. Without strength and ability, becoming an agent was just looking for death. So, people who could become agents were almost always ruthless, hardened and capable. They may not be as good as soldiers in a group battle, but they were extremely good in one-on-one fights. Duke heard those words, and a chill formed in his eyes. He touched his chin and said, "Okay, I'll do that." "Hey, Duke. Bill cares a lot about Bruce," an agent said with some worry. "Does he dare challenge me?" Duke sneered. Those agents nodded with approval. Unless Bill wanted to die, he wouldn't dare. Duke's strength was among the top of Level 4 agents. After a while, Duke and company dispersed. Bill saw them leaving and then walked up to Bruce. "Hey Bill, good morning." Bruce greeted him. Bill looked at Bruce and shook his head. These days, Bill felt Duke and Co.'s hostility towards Bruce, which made him very worried. "My friend, you're in trouble," Bill sighed. "You're so good at joking, Bill. What kind of trouble am I in?" Bruce certainly understood what Bill was saying. "If my guess is right, Duke will challenge you during the assessment. He wants to kill you. I hope you don't participate in this test, my friend." Bill stood by Bruce's side looking very worried. Bruce's strength, Bill knew about clearly. "My friend, thanks for the reminder, but I have to join this assessment." Bruce's tone was steadfast. "You will be killed," Bill cried. He really cared about Bruce. In his opinion, even he couldn't beat Duke, let alone Bruce. Of course, this was because he didn't know about Bruce's real strength. "Bill, I hope you can understand me, this is something I have to do." Bruce smiled. "Okay, but I still want to remind you to surrender at a critical time. I don't want to lose you." Bill knew that Bruce had made up his mind, so he could only remind him again. While they were talking, a harsh voice suddenly interrupted them. Bruce and Bill turned around and looked at the gate. One after another, jeeps appeared, arranged in rows. Some of the cars even carried heavy weapons. "Damn it, everyone, back to work." At this point, Ed Frank's voice came from the second floor. All the agents were in a formation and stood up straight. The first black armored SUV stopped outside the base, then the door opened. Next, a middle-aged white man wearing a suit with a pair of black sunglasses walked out of it. Bruce knew him, Phil Coulson, a Level 8 agent and a legend in S.H.I.E.L.D. But Coulson didn't go into the Avengers base directly and seemed to be waiting for someone at the gate. Bruce looked straight into the distance without blinking. At this time, a man appeared in a tight black suit, holding a black longbow in his hand with black arrows on his back. Standing there, his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's eyes. It seemed like everyone present was his prey. Bruce's eyes widened, then confirmed his identity immediately. Hawkeye, real name Clinton Francis Barton. Chapter 6, Hawkeye. Dozens of jeeps parked in front of the gate of the Avengers base. 30 or 40 agents stood there, wearing suits and sunglasses, looking professional. The guards around the jeep were almost all Level 5 agents. They were all elites from S.H.I.E.L.D. From the first SUV, the Level 8 agent took off his sunglasses and looked at the man who held a longbow. "How about it, Mr. Barton? This is the Avengers base that director Nick Fury was talking about before," Phil Coulson said with pride on his face. The Avengers base was the assembly point for the highest technology in America. S.H.I.E.L.D. had invested a lot of resources to establish it secretly. If not for its unique purpose, those members from the parliament would never agree to spend so much money to build it. Very good. But Coulson, was this what you wanted to surprise me with? Hawkeye asked, with a trace of doubt on his face. No, the director wants to form a strong, one-of-a-kind alliance. And you will be one of the members. Coulson was very serious. Hawkeye and Coulson had been working together for many years, so he could tell if Coulson was serious or if he was joking. I'm very honored. Hawkeye smiled. In fact, if it was not for his relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D., he would not participate in these kind of things. Natasha Romanoff will also be stationed here soon after, and I think you should chat with her when the time comes. Coulson said. When Hawkeye heard this name, a hard glint flashed in his eyes. They were the best of partners once upon a time, going through life and death together for many years, and had a deep friendship. Absolutely, it was purely friendship and nothing else. Hawkeye and Coulson looked at each other for a while, in total silence. Then, they walked into the base. Sir, Ed Frank reporting for duty. When Coulson had just entered, Frank stood in front of him and saluted. His face was red with a little bit of excitement. Not only him, but all of the other agents were the same, including Duke and Bill. Phil Coulson, Level 8 agent, was at the top of S.H.I.E.L.D. Clint Barton, Level 10 agent, a living legend, and an idol for all of the agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. These low-level agents were just 4th or 5th level. How could they not be excited when they saw those two? Coulson and Barton nodded, but didn't reply. Perhaps Frank was a big shot for the Level 3 and Level 4 agents, but in the eyes of Coulson and company, he was just a nobody. And at this moment, Bruce, who was standing beside the security gate, narrowed his eyes. Hawkeye, with his powerful abilities, was far beyond the top agents. He was one of the Avengers' superhero. Even the Level 10 agents could not match him. I must get his abilities. Bruce thought, making a decision on the spot. Compared with other superheroes, Hawkeye's ability was not the strongest. But his power was unquestionable for Bruce right now. If Bruce could get his ability, his strength would improve significantly. Besides, Bruce couldn't be sure that he would encounter Hawkeye again. So, regardless of the risk, Bruce would never miss this opportunity. With his mind made up, Bruce went for it without hesitation. Sir, please accept the security check. When he spoke those words, all the agents looked at him. Duke and Frank were also looking at him like they were looking at a fool. Bill was desperately blinking at him. Coulson, a top agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Hawkeye, a legendary agent. Bruce stopped those two. Was he crazy? Do you know who we are? Coulson asked. Hawkeye looked at him with slight interest, but didn't speak. Of course, sir, but rules are rules. Bruce replied, looking meticulous and showing an absolute calmness. In actuality though, his heart was beating through his chest. Well, I like you, brat. What's your name? Coulson hadn't spoken yet, when Hawkeye's voice interrupted his thoughts. Sir, my name is Bruce Lite, nice to meet you. Bruce answered. Then he put his hand out. Looking at the hand, Hawkeye spaced out a little. Clint Barton, then, he also put his hand out. Just as the two hands touched, Hawkeye's information appeared in Bruce's mind. Skill, Super Wisdom, 300 MB, Marksman, 500 MB, Super Strength, 500 MB, Super Speed, 500 MB, Super Sensitivity, 300 MB, Supervision, 500 MB. Each ability of these superheroes is useful. Bruce secretly sighed. Hawkeye didn't have the ability mental immunity yet. But, according to the movies, he would get it after being controlled by Loki. Every single one of Hawkeye's abilities Bruce had an urgent need for, but now he didn't know which one to choose. He could only get one or two in this limited time. Soon after, Bruce made his decision though. Marksman and Super Speed. Chapter 7, Super Skill. Beep, connection successful. Beep, the skill Marksman is starting to download, size 500 MB. Beep, the current speed is 300 kb per second, effective within 1 meter. Beep, connection successful. Beep, the skill's super speed is starting to download, size 500 MB. Beep, the current speed is 300 kb per second, valid within 1 meter. Based on the current speed, the download would finish in about an hour. Even purchasing a 10x download speed upgrade would not be enough, after all, it would still be 5 to 6 minutes. He couldn't stay with Hawkeye for so long. Bruce made his mind up and purchased the 100x download speed upgrade from the system. While he was $10,000 short, the bank automatically added the extra borrowed money as a loan. That was also one of the privileges of an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, the download would be finished in only 30 seconds. Just as Bruce's download finished, the other agents were slack-jawed. They never thought that Hawkeye would shake hands with Bruce. Various expressions were on the agents' faces when they saw what had just happened. They looked at Bruce's direction with envy, indifference, regret, etc. After the download finished, Bruce stopped shaking Hawkeye's hand. "Thank you, sir." Bruce smiled. Hawkeye nodded, then turned back and said to Coulson, "Let's go." At the same time, he glanced at Bruce again and crossed the security gate. Beep, download complete. Beep, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Marksman. Beep, congratulations, you've obtained the skill Super Speed. Bruce was overjoyed to get 2 powerful skills in succession. The 2 skills would undoubtedly improve his strength significantly. When Coulson was on the 2nd floor, he turned back and looked at all the agents to say, "Mr. Bruce has done a good job, and I hope you will all follow his example." After saying that, he left together with Hawkeye. "Yes, sir." Everyone replied in unison. After the 2 disappeared, everyone relaxed. Frank gave Bruce a strange look but said nothing in the end. As for Duke and company, they looked at Bruce with even more hostility. "Damn, he is too good at flattering. Duke, don't be anxious. He will die soon." Then, with Frank's order, everyone went back to work. As for Bruce, he secretly opened his system panel without paying attention to anyone. Identity, Level 3 Agent. Skill, Marksman, Super Speed, Medium-Level Fighting Technique, Proficient in Firearms, Covert Tracking. The attribute panel was completely renewed. Super Speed, whether for attacking, defending, or fleeing, provided him with a speed far beyond what ordinary people could achieve. Marksman made his shots precise. Whether it be for archery, knife throwing, darts, firearms, etc. This skill made him far better than a so-called top sniper. Super Speed and Marksman also complemented each other. This time, Bruce's strength had improved dramatically. Now the upcoming agent examination would be very simple for him. After entering the base, Coulson and company did not come out again. After evening came, Bruce got off work and went to the training ground to see his new skills in action. Goes to the training ground. The training ground of the Avengers base was always open. But almost no one would usually come. After seeing that no one was there, Bruce started to test his speed. The next moment, he became a series of afterimages. The 100 meters sprint only took him 4 to 5 seconds, more than doubling the world record. With his physical strength alone, he could keep this speed up for a long time. After that, Bruce began testing his marksman skill. Unlike before, Bruce now felt as if the bow had become a part of his body. Then, he shot 20 arrows in a row. Every arrow hit the target dead center, without mistake. While he was shooting, Bruce did not even need to aim. He seemed to become one with the bow while it was in his hands. With his current strength, he was sure to be among the top agents in the world. Of course, that was referring to ordinary agents, not superheroes. As long as I keep improving like this, one day, I will definitely catch up with those superheroes. Bruce smiled with a hint of perseverance showing on his face. As his strength improved, he was becoming more and more confident. But then he sighed. Today, to download Hawkeye's skills he had lost almost all of his savings. Now, his system balance was 0. And after paying off the bank, he had less than $20,000 in cash. If he encountered other superheroes now, he wouldn't be able to download their skills. It was about time to find a way to make some serious money. Of course, with his current ability, he could rob a bank. If this could improve his strength, he would do it without hesitation. In this world where the strong ruled, he had thrown his morals out the window. But the system did not accept illegal income. Besides, if he did that, some organizations or superheroes would definitely take notice. This was the Marvel world. Currently, he wasn't powerful enough. He had to be very careful. So, he abandoned that idea after a little thinking. While he was thinking of how to make money, he determined his next goal, which was to download more skills from superheroes. And his next target was Spider-Man, or better known as Peter Parker. But for now, he was still a level 3 agent. So first, in order to get out of the base, he needed to hurry up and become a level 5 agent. Soon after, Bruce returned to his room. He needed to work tomorrow, and in 2 days the agent's assessment would begin. He needed to prepare well. In the next 2 days, Bruce was the same as usual. But during this time, Duke often provoked him indirectly. Bruce directly ignored him and didn't respond. Because today was the day the agent's assessment would begin. This marks the end of part 1 of the story, Copy Hero, Marvel Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.